100 games.
Yeah. But you know what, Perk? If we went to the Wayback Machine, I bet Hakeem could do it too. That's my guess.
But would Hakeem have been out on the perimeter to do it? There you go. Welcome to
today's NBA, he would, right?
Probably. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols alongside NBA champ Kendrick Perkins, Hall of Famer Jackie McMullen. We have such a big show planned, guys. NBA Twitter legend Jason Concepcion dropping by to preview tonight's first ever Marvel-themed NBA broadcast. A heroic matchup between the Warriors and the Pelicans. It's going to air on ESPN2. Jeff Green from the Brooklyn Nets, he's also going to stop by talking about his love for Marvel. Also, what's going on with Brooklyn, finding chemistry with his superstar teammates. First, though, the Lakers dropping their third straight game last night. Now Woj and Dave McMenamin reporting the Lakers will be without starting point guard Dennis Schroeder for 10 to 14 days due to COVID health and safety protocols. Schroeder sat out last night's loss to the Raptors because of the protocols. This is the second COVID-related absence for Schroeder. There's never a good time to lose a starter, but this is a heavy blow to the Lakers as they try to reintegrate LeBron and AD back into the lineup. LeBron isn't even still playing consistently. We'll have more on that in a minute, but back to Schroeder, who is averaging 15.5 points and 5.8 assists this season, was one of the key players who kept the Lakers afloat without LeBron and AD. Perk, what do you think the loss of Schroeder means for the Lakers right now?
Well, Rachel, it means everything. And it's hard, but it's a disaster when you look at it. When you look at the structure of the Los Angeles Lakers, it's only two playmakers at the guard position and at their wing position, LeBron James and Dennis Schroeder. You take Dennis Schroeder away, who do you have left? A hobbling LeBron James is not good for the Lakers right now. LeBron James is not healthy, as we can see. I don't even think he's 60%. So, and it just goes to show, I want to give a lot of credit to the players around the whole entire NBA of what they've been dealing with throughout the NBA season, dealing with certain situations as far as testing on the regular, as far as with COVID and the whole COVID protocol situation.
I couldn't agree more, Perk. This is a really tough blow for the Lakers for the exact point you mentioned. Who's going to facilitate now? You don't want to put more on LeBron James's plate. And the other thing about Schroeder, I thought it was really important for him to be around because, as we know, Anthony Davis has been struggling a bit as he reintegrates back into this team. He's only shooting 39% from the floor. The Lakers have actually been outscored by 56 points during the time that he's been back. Now, we know he's a great player, but who better than your point guard, who has been a really big leader, and you could argue one of the most important players on that team, to get you back into the swing of it? Now you're not going to have him.
Jackie, do you think that seeing this will impact any of the Lakers and other teammates or maybe other teams around the league? The league has been pretty clear. If you are vaccinated, the protocols will be different for you. Schroeder missed time earlier this season for contact tracing. The league has already come out and said that's not going to be the case for vaccinated players, taking guidance from the CDC. Right now, he's missing 10 to 14 days, which is usually an indicator that the player is dealing with coronavirus. That is going to be kept private, but we can sort of read the tea leaves of the schedule. And again, look, we have this information from our nation's leading doctors that it is very, 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 very hard to come up with a positive coronavirus test if you are fully vaccinated. Do you think that this is now impacting players and teams on the court and, in fact, could really put a dent in the Lakers' playoff hopes, might affect some of the thinking of players who maybe are okay getting vaccinated, just haven't gotten around to it or have sort of on the fence, Jackie?
Well, if they haven't got vaccinated yet, I would be guessing that their teams are going to ask them to do it in a big hurry and probably recommend the one-shot vaccination. Because as you know, you get vaccinated, you have to wait 2 to 3 weeks to get the second vaccination, and then you're not officially cleared according to the CDC guidelines for another 2 weeks. You're talking 5 or 6 weeks out. I do think this, COVID has just cast a pall over this entire season. I think that's pretty obvious to everybody. And when these things happen, it's just so frustrating, not just to the player involved, but everybody on his team, because now they all have to be tested again. This is just, this nightmare can't be over soon enough for a lot of NBA players, that's for sure.
And look, the NBA has made it clear to the Players Association, to individual players, it is up to the person himself whether he wants to get vaccinated. Right. But they've also made it clear that the rules are going to be different for people who are and aren't, just like the rules in society are going to be different. The CDC has already come out and said this. So you're just going to have to decide. There's all kinds of factors when you decide as a player, am I going to take this painkiller or not? What will it do to my body long term? What will it do if I play on this ankle that I probably shouldn't play in, but it's the playoffs and I really want to be there for my team? Those kinds of questions we're used to players grappling with injury, that they are now going to grapple with vaccination questions that really are a lot of the same sort of pros and cons and equation, I think is going to be very interesting. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Lakers game last night. Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry, two-man wrecking crew out there, just torching the Lakers for a combined 76 points. The Lakers' losses continue to mount. They've now lost 6 of their last 7, currently in 6th place in the West. They have the same record as the 7th-seeded Trailblazers, though, so there is a real chance the defending champs will drop into that play-in tournament, something that just seemed inconceivable. It was only 2 months ago they were in 2nd place in the West. LeBron shared his thoughts about the play-in tournament, and they're not positive. Take a listen.
It doesn't matter at the end of the day if I'm not, 100% close to 100%. It don't matter, where we land, So, that's my mindset. And, if this happens to, we end up at 6th or 5th or whatever the case may be, or if we end up in the, the playoff, whatever that thing is, whoever came up with that need to be fired. But whatever.
All right, so a little breaking news from Woj and Ramona Shelburne. The Lakers' LeBron is out tonight against the Nuggets. He re-aggravated his ankle in the 4th quarter of last night's loss. Jackie, calling for someone to be fired is strong. I can hear you laughing there. What is your opinion of LeBron's comments?
I can understand his frustration, Rachel. I really can. And you are correct in that it was inconceivable for anyone on the Lakers to even think about the play-in game. I'm sure they never even gave it a thought, never paid attention to how it worked, because it was never going to be part of their equation. It was never going to be anything that affected them. I'm sure Mark Cuban felt the same way about his Dallas Mavericks. I don't blame people for changing their minds. People are pulling out an old quote from LeBron saying he thinks it's a great idea, and it was from March 2018 or March 2020 or whatever it was. But I think all of these guys have the right to change their mind, because no one knew what toll this year. This has been like the baton death march this NBA season, honestly, for every team, coaches, players, GMs, everyone. So I don't blame people for changing their mind and saying, man, the last thing we need are more.
Yeah, look, Jackie, I agree with your point, but I disagree with LeBron as far as the play-in, because I actually love the play-in tournament, okay? I think it holds teams and organizations accountable throughout the regular season, not to take the regular season for granted. And during this time when it's getting towards the end of the regular season, going into the playoffs, sometimes teams relax. You have guys load managing, guys sitting out games, guys tanking, things to that nature. Well, this here nips everything in the bud. And I think, when you think about load management part of it, where hardworking people are taking their kids to games or their friends to games, their superstars are now playing. Now you have to play, because every game means something. So I actually love the play-in tournament. And I think a guy that was a great example who took full advantage of the play-in tournament was Damian Lillard last year in the bubble. He said, I'm not going down to the bubble just to play. I need to have a reason to play, and I want an opportunity to go in and play to get in the playoffs. And he shined like new money. So I get LeBron frustration because his ankle injury, his team, and where they are. But the play-in tournament has been a great thing that the NBA has added to the schedule and to the NBA period.
Look, I'm all for
I
Go
get
ahead,
what you're
Jackie.
saying, Perk. Oh, no, I was going to say, I get what you're saying, Perk, but I just think you have to look at this year through a different lens. And now what's happening, because of the play-in and people and teams wanting to avoid the play-in, players who are injured are coming back sooner than they should. I would present LeBron James as a potential example. And so is that good for the league, for players to come back before they're healthy because they want to avoid that 7th spot at all spots? I'm not sure
I'm not sure
so
that that's
good.
why LeBron's coming back now,
Yeah,
though. There's
yeah.
only such a handful of games before the playoffs. You know that either way, he would want to be
Right.
getting himself back into shape, getting his rhythm with
Right.
Anthony Davis. And I will say this for the Lakers, whether they end up in 7th in the playoff spot, play-in spot, or 6th, they may want to end up in 7th looking at the bracket, right? Because if they end up in 6th, guess who they would play in the first round if the season ended today? The Clippers in the first round. Meanwhile, if they end up in 7th, they play either Phoenix or Utah. And I am not making a statement of, oh, gee, those are easier than the Clippers. But I know that there's been talk amongst the Lakers that perhaps you would want one of those earlier matchups. So I think that it is a little bit of a gamble to try to pick your opponent. Having to play the extra game of having to play the playing game might be something that the Lakers, who are banged up, are not looking forward to. But overall, their big problem is LeBron is still hurting, Anthony Davis is still finding his legs, and now Dennis Schroeder is out for 10 to 14 days. All right, friends, I need to show you something. This is Ant-Man's helmet. I'm so excited. We've got a bunch of Marvel stuff coming up for you on the show. Coming up in 2 minutes, we're going to discuss who earns the NBA scoring league pass. As always, thank you, Jimmy Butler. LaMelo Ball is back, people. The Hornets are must-watch TV again. Perk, the universe order is restored. What was the best thing you saw from him this weekend?
That pass, Rachel, that might have been the best pass that I've seen in the last 10 years since D. Wade threw a full court pass
Damn.
to LeBron James. I mean, he's just phenomenal.
Okay, but Perk, the best pass you've seen in the last 10 years? Come on now, friend. We just saw a great drop pass that Luka made the other night. But I love LaMelo. It's great for the Hornets that he's back. Go ahead, dear.
Yeah, but Jackie, what I'm saying is he threw an underhanded pass on time, on target, almost 94 feet through traffic, over the top like Tom Brady.
Miss Modesty, Cole Anthony, not shy after his game-winning 3 on Saturday. Take a listen.
Was that the same feeling tonight, Cole?
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. That was the play we drew up. Came off that. Seen I had Kyle Anderson on me. I was like, yeah, it's game time. Trying to get this money.
Jackie, you know what I always say about Cole? He got it from his daddy. Do you think that is where this confidence comes from as well?
Just about to say that. Born in the right household. But you know what? I like positive self-talk. Even when the Magic were struggling, this kid was struggling early on, and he's like, nope, I'm worth it. I'm worth the first round pick, and I'm going to show y'all, and I'm going to show y'all all year long. Positive self-talk. Go with it.
I love it. You know, when you get that first shining moment as the NBA player, the game winner, hey, shine. Do what you do, young fella.
So good. Make reputations. The Blazers have won 4 straight. Friday, Dame hit back-to-back shots from the logo. Perk, don't the Nets know they're supposed to guard him out there? Do they not have television?
I mean, it's 2 guys that you should know when you're doing a scouting report and film session before a game. That's Steph Curry and Dame Dollar, that they got range to pull up from half court. I mean, you got to get up, DJ. You got to get up. I guarantee you Steve Nash reminded him about it.
You know what? I'm going to throw Trae Young in that mix. Perk, too. He's another logo guy. I love these shots.
So fun. And by the way, the Trailblazers were in a bit of a tailspin. Guess what? They kept on fighting, and now they've won all those games in a row. Missed timing. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown colliding late in their loss to the Blazers last night. Now, Tatum said, quote, he should be okay. Jaylen Brown already questionable, though, with an ankle sprain before this game. Jackie, if he does end up to be out, can the Celtics handle losing him even for a game or 2?
I mean, they're going to have to, but this was, this game was such a great basketball game. You watch the end of that, and you're just like, you got to be kidding me. It was such a freak play. I mean, I think they should hold them out for a couple of games. Again, try to get these guys as healthy as you can for the finish line.
I agree. Look, they got Orlando Magic next on their schedule. They should be fine without Jaylen Brown. Neesmith has been playing great basketball. Peyton Pritchard has been stepping up. So I'm not concerned. They should hold them out for a few games.
All right, guys, I want to take a look at today's Magic Moments brought to you by Walt Disney World. Friday night, we're talking about Jason Tatum again because he tied the Celtics single game scoring record with 60 points. It was part of a 32-point comeback to beat the Spurs in overtime. Amazing performance. Got the good photo afterward, but this team still is in need of more wins. They're sitting in the 7th seed in the East. So, Jackie, is the 60-point game something, nothing, or everything?
Oh, it's definitely something, Rachel, because they were getting booed off the floor in the first half, and he literally single-handedly brought them back. And the 60 points were incredible, but just as impressive to me, the 0 turnovers, because he was handling the ball all through this game, very high degree of difficulty, and he would have been very turnover. This is a huge win for them, believe it or not. This would have been the worst loss of the year had it gone down that way.
Yeah, and listen, it was a 60-piece wing dinner Cajun rub, okay? Because he did it in great fashion, and I'm going to tell you why it's everything to me. When you look at all the contenders around the league, and I strongly believe a healthy Celtic roster, their ceiling is to reach the finals. They went to the conference finals last season. So with that being said, you have to have a superstar, a guy that is capable of erupting for historical nights. When you look around the league in the Eastern Conference, you got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Giannis, Joel Embiid. Well, the Boston Celtics have Jason Tatum, a guy that scored 53 and 60 points in 1 week, a guy that is averaging 48 points over his last 3 games. I mean, that's what you need in order to rise to the top. And he's taking that leap, and I love to see it.
And it's just got to give them confidence, right? Especially as we just mentioned, if Jaylen Brown ends up sitting out the next game, just having that knowledge that your guy on your court can dig you out of that hole. You don't want to depend on it, but it's good to know it's there. All right, coming up, guys, you're going to see my conversation with the MVP favorite, Nikola Jokic. I'm really excited to show you our whole discussion, the evolution of his journey. First, though, I do want to talk about Evan Fournier while we're still on the topic of the Celtics. He missed 2 weeks with COVID, has really struggled since returning to the lineup. Fournier finally broke out with a 21-point game against the Blazers, but after the game, he described his lingering symptoms. Take a listen.
It's like I have a concussion, you know. Right now, it's actually doing a little bit better, but at first, it's like the bright lights were bothering my eyes, and my vision was, blurry, and everything was just going too fast for me. I mean, it's still the case. Some stuff are better. At times I'm really struggling to focus.
And I recently sat down with Nuggets All-Star center Nikola Jokic. We discussed his journey, right, from being the 41st pick in the draft. If he wins MVP, that will be the lowest drafted player to win the award ever. How he went through changing his body, changing his approach, and getting to this season where he is not only the MVP favorite, but leading this Nuggets team without Jamal Murray now. Take a look.
Jokic, what a pass! Jokic looking all universe right now. Another brilliant dish.
He's just one of the best passers in the league, period.
Nikola, it has been another season of just eye-popping passes, moves that look like they're made out of silk. You grew up in Serbia, and you played a lot of other sports besides basketball. You played soccer, and you also played a little bit of water polo with your friends. A lot of the one-handed passes or those sidearm passes seem to come from that. How much was the way you grew up doing all these different things an influence on how you play today?
To be honest, I always say I'm playing this way since I started playing basketball. Even now, I play all other sports, volleyball, spike ball, water polo. That helps too, to see some different sports, a different point of view, what I can do, So and I enjoying playing other sports.
You have the signature move, which the Nuggets play-by-play broadcaster has nicknamed the Sambor Shuffle after your hometown.
Jokic, Sambor Shuffle is good!
Warriors' Draymond Green had a different way of describing it. He called it that right-footed joint, and he kept talking about how difficult it was to defend.
He hit a couple of those right foot joints that he shoot on me, like frustrating as hell. You feel like you've done everything you could possibly do to make him take a bad shot, and it hit nothing but the bottom of the net.
But that move was invented out of difficult circumstances, right?
Yeah. I twisted my left ankle, and I just was shooting upstairs in a practice facility. It was kind of a little bit painful to jump over the both legs, and I kind of started jumping over the right leg. and the ball was going in. I said, maybe I can use this, and it's working since then.
With the 41st pick in the 2014 NBA Draft, the Denver Nuggets select Nikola Jokic.
When you first got to the league, did you think you were drafted too low?
I didn't even know. I mean, I was sleeping. My brother called me, and he was partying, opening champagne, I don't know, something. And he was in New York at that time, and I was like, "Come on, brother, I'm sleeping." So, in that moment, I didn't even think it's a big thing, you know, because I never imagined myself coming here.
When you first came over to play in the NBA, you were not the slim, trim muscle machine that you are now, Nikola. How would you describe your body back then?
I mean, when I first started playing basketball back home in Serbia, Belgrade, I really couldn't do a push-up. And then I came here. Here I was really probably the worst body or worst strength condition in the NBA.
Come on, saying you were the worst conditioned player in the NBA? I think you're being a little hard on yourself. You really think that?
I was not far away from the worst, so I think personally.
I did hear that before you came to the NBA, you used to drink a gallon of Coca-Cola a day?
Yeah. And I love it. I drink the last Coke, my first summer league, on the airplane coming to America, and I remember it.
You were already eating better after those first few years in the league, but once the NBA shut down for COVID and you were back in Serbia, you got really serious about your workouts, about your diet.
I just wanted to change something, you know. I wanted to see, can I do it? Can I really change my body? And I lost a lot of pounds, and I feel much better, you know. To be honest, I still don't run faster. I think it's just main thing, I don't get tired that fast. I can play a lot longer. I think by changing my body helps me a little bit in defensive too, and experience, you know.
All of this has combined to make you the favorite for the MVP award this year, and we've heard other guys who are in the conversation say, I should be MVP and here is why, or another guy, I should be MVP and here is why. You never say anything like that. How come?
I mean, I never think about it, to be honest. I didn't came here to want to be an MVP of the league, you know. I always think someone is better than me, you know. I want to compete to beat him. So just by that mentality, I'm gonna be underdog always.
Murray's down and hurt. Oh my goodness. He's reaching down for the knee, and man.
You guys really seemed on track to be right there in title contention this year. I know that is your biggest goal. And then Jamal Murray goes down.
Yeah.
What goes through your head after the initial just being concerned for your friend about what it's going to do to the rest of your season?
It's hard, you know, because I really miss him. He's someone he's really like he's competing.
100%, close to 100%. It don't matter, you know, where we land, you know. So, you know, that's my mindset. And you know, if this happens to we end up at 6th or 5th or whatever the case may be, or if we end up in the the playoff, whatever that thing is, whoever came up with that need to be fired. But whatever.
The entire team is kind of in a in a slump right now, in a drought, and not more so individually, but just collectively on both ends of the ball. So, we just got to stay the course, stay together. I think this is the lowest we've been in a while, but the only way is up. We really can't get any lower than this.
I just don't think we're connected right now. I think we're unhealthy and just not good enough. Losing 6 is very tough, and we've all had winnable games during that stretch, and it's just a little disappointing. We're just not together as a whole. Team, staff, everything.
Guess who is healthy and connected? Thank the good Lord. Guys, welcome to First Take.
The band's back.
We are back after a pandemic. I mean, it's been a long time. We still have the huge desk. I'm trying to get rid of that. but we are all back.
I
and it
like the huge
certainly-
desk.
I don't like the huge
I
desk
like
at all.
the huge desk.
That
Doesn't
leaf
bother me.
annoys me. The camera's too far away. I like to be closer.
I feel you on
like
that, but the desk
togetherness
is,
and
the
connection.
desk is not. They could jazz it up or decorate it a little bit
No,
there.
it's
But
gigantic.
the desk is all right.
It's like we should have a Thanksgiving spread
Something
out
like
here.
that. Something like
I'm
that.
not arguing against
Well, if
that.
you're gonna have the Thanksgiving spread, we must have Damian Woody there for that. I'm just saying.
Be
I'm just
nice.
saying.
Be nice. All right. We're all happy to be back. Thank you for being with us. Lakers drama.
Yeah.
Let's go. Stephen A., are you even picking them to win the West right now?
Not right now. No. I reserve the right to change my mind because I picked them at the beginning of the season, and certainly if LeBron James gets healthy, obviously that changes a lot of things. But I think that he was right on the money when he said if he's not 100%, they ain't coming out of the West. I think even he knows that. He looks like a shell of himself right now. And obviously the last 6 minutes and 42 seconds, I believe, last night, he ended up sitting out the rest of the game in their loss to the Toronto Raptors because of right ankle soreness. It's the same ankle that he hurt against Atlanta over 40 days ago, which caused them to miss 20 games. And when you look at the Los Angeles Lakers right now, they're out of sync. And when you got to take into account Frank Vogel, Max, the defense is ranked number 2 in the NBA. Frank Vogel is known as an elite defensive coach. That's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's never been accused of that offensively. So that means that the offense, which is ranked 23 at this particular moment in time, it's really in the hands of LeBron James. He's your point forward. Now, Dennis Schroeder was out last night, the COVID protocols and all of this other stuff, which obviously frustrates a lot of players because too many players this year have gone through that. But I don't think he makes that much of a difference if LeBron James is not healthy. LeBron James is not healthy. He looks like a shell of himself. And without him, the offense ain't just what it used to be. Anthony Davis is averaging 21 and 8 this season, 50% shooting from the field, but only 26% shooting from three-point range. If you look at the way teams are playing in the National Basketball Association, particularly in the Western Conference, they're going to get a little bit physical with you. He's got to be able to make his perimeter shots in order to be the Anthony Davis we know and love, because without that, it's going to be just too tough with Phoenix, with Utah. Even though the Clippers have lost 3 straight, we can't eliminate them. The Denver Nuggets have won 5 straight. This is why Jokic is the MVP right now, the leading candidate for the MVP. There's just too much formidable opposition in the Western Conference for LeBron to be less than 100%. Both him and AD are less than 100%. And as far as I'm concerned, if the players were to begin right now, I wouldn't pick the Los Angeles Lakers to even make the conference finals.
Neither would I if the playoffs start right now, but they don't. I'm staying with the Lakers. Am I nervous? Yeah.
Okay.
And you know I'm a Lakers fan. But
yeah, you're a trader. Go
yeah,
ahead.
that's right.
You're a trader.
That's
right.
That's right. Sold the Knicks out.
Mhm.
When Dolan sells the team, we can talk.
Okay.
The point is, the Lakers still have LeBron and AD. And the real alarming thing that LeBron said, though he said something like this in the past,
Mhm.
is he doesn't know if he'll ever be 100% again. He doesn't think he'll ever be 100% again. Whoa, LeBron, what are you saying? I'm going to take that as a dude who's really frustrated right now, who sat out all that time to make sure it was okay, came back and like, wait, did I hurt myself again? Well, is this just pain or is this an injury I'm dealing with? But guys, when they are healthy, if they can get healthy, they're still the best team in the West. This is the defending champs who, gentlemen, swept the Western Conference last year. No one took them to a Game 6 in the West. And they got better, at least on paper, not only in the offseason, but after the trade deadline. You talk about, can Anthony Davis's body hold up to the rigors of the playoffs? They have Andre Drummond. Like, they have guys. The problem used to be they don't have enough starters, really. They have 2 superstars, maybe one other starter in Schroeder, and everyone else is a rotation guy. Andre Drummond is better than just a starter. No, they got guys now. The whole issue is the health. And Stephen A., this whole string of games they're playing, I know, they lost to a team playing the second of back-to-back, right? The Raptors, who are not going to make the playoffs probably, go on a West Coast swing, lose to Denver, lose to the Jazz, and then beat the Lakers playing their 3rd game in 4 nights. As a Lakers fan, oh my God. But the rest of this season, the next 10 games, the next 3 weeks almost, this is just the run-up to the playoffs. All the Lakers have to worry about, forget about where they're seated, get healthy.
Hold on.
They have enough time.
I have a couple questions. One, do you actually believe LeBron at face value, or do you think they're just trying to play some games here and set the bar low?
I think he's lying when he says that he doesn't know if he'll ever be 100% again.
Yeah.
I think that's I think that's a bit of hyperbole there. But I do think that he's alluding to this season because, again, he does make a legitimate point when he talks about you have to get out there and play because particularly with the kind of season with COVID-19, you don't get practice time. So you can't get 5-on-5 live live action and what have you. You don't know how you're going to feel until you go out there and play.
Yeah.
And if he, at age 36 in his 18th season, he's measuring himself against what he knows he's accustomed to feeling. So if you're out there and you're feeling this soreness after 40 days off, 20 games, and you're still feeling soreness when you go out there, it's kind of scary in that regard. Also, we got to remember, it's a three-way tie for that 6th seed.
That's what I was going to say. What about the seeding? How bad is this? Can that really affect them?
It's very bad because what happens is that now you're talking about the fact that he can't get himself healthy because the Lakers have shown an inability to win games when he's out. They were 8-13 with him out of the lineup.
But that's recent. They're about 500 until recently.
Well, yeah,
they started sliding recently.
But he still wasn't back, is all I'm trying to say. He still wasn't back. And so without him, you're struggling. And then you get to a point where you sit back and you're going like this. I can't afford to be out because I don't have confidence that we can win without me during these regular season games, which means he had to come back in there, which is why Brad Turner and others covering the team the way that they do. One of the first questions they asked him was, do you think you came back too early? That's why they asked that question.
Well, look, they were doing fine really until AD got back, more or less. And then the problem is they have to figure out how to reintegrate the second most important piece on the team in AD. And now it's LeBron. So the question is only for me, number one, are they healthy? Right? And then do they have enough time? I say, yes, they have enough time. Even if LeBron has to pull back a little bit, you got to pull back his minutes. They have just enough time right now to get into a rhythm before the playoffs. I do think they have that time. And then if they do, I'm not saying I'm picking them against the Western Conference. I'm saying I'd make them the odds-on favorite because until I see otherwise, LeBron's considered the best player in basketball. AD, when last seen, was tearing it up in the playoffs and finals. They've gotten better since then. They're my favorites.
Well, listen, you got Kyle Kuzma saying Marc Gasol should be playing. Marc Gasol was just starting center, and now he's third string behind Drummond and Montrezl Harrell. So you got that as a problem. So you got players looking at things schematically. They're looking at